Hey, what's the deal? It's your boy Amir, your boy Talent here. Motivation Monday, getting your mind right. You know what I mean? What up?
Motivation
What up, son?
Monday. What's going on, big dog? How was the weekend, sir? How was the weekend?
Hey, man, listen, the weekend was stupendous. Shout out to everybody in Tampa, Florida, looking out again. Our comedy takeover was a great success. Shout out to my girl Nina. Nina, our Jersey folks was in there 30 deep. Uh,
Wow.
Shout out to comedian DK. You had my girl Catherine Maloney was on that show. My boy Desi Johnson was on the show. My girl NV, who does the radio out there, who just started comedy.
Okay.
Like I
Wow.
literally talked her into it a month ago, put her up, and now she just you would never know she was a new jack. You know,
Wow. That's
so
dope.
she did the damn thing. Yeah, it was a great weekend, man. And now on en route on the way home until the next weekend, which is the Comedy Takeover goes up to Rochester for 4 shows with our
Right.
good friend Damon Williams. How was yours?
It was good. It was good, man. I did a lot of resting, but in the interim, I, got a chance to catch up on a lot of things that people have been talking about. I got a chance to watch some of the parts of that Men joint with Will Smith. We
Oh,
talks
I
about
heard
the
about that.
it's really good. It's a
Was it
six
good?
part series. Yeah, it's a 6 part series. I watched 3 of the 6. Really good stuff. Had an opportunity to also see the Biggie joint on Netflix, which I
I
enjoyed
saw it.
that as well. And then last but not least, I got a chance to see Coming to America Deuce Deuce
Don't
with
don't don't blow it. Don't blow it yet. Hold your thoughts. Hold the horses.
oh,
Who the bosses?
and we also had All Star Weekend. So I know there was a lot of people who probably felt the ways about All Star Weekend, but in all fairness, I thought it was cool. I didn't, I know we used to it being a lot longer and more drawn out and this and the third, but I thought for all of the drama that they had to go through to, try to make it happen, I thought that they did a phenomenal job. Kudos to all the players, kudos to the NBA, kudos to all the HBCUs and everybody who was involved. I think it was an excellent job all around.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I think they got that off. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that given all the circumstances, I mean, was the dunk contest a little lackluster, maybe, but for what it was and cramming it all together and getting it done, great time. They even let me tell you what I like. What a lot of people don't even know is they were so serious about not being the reason for people throwing parties and unsanctioned events and being super spreader events and stuff like that. They issued over 200 plus cease and desist orders. So they was on it. Everything they seen on social media, with the NBA logo or said All Star Weekend, they jumped on it with the lawyers and shut that down. You know what I mean?
Wow.
As far as that marketing and the advertising was, and normally they don't care about stuff like that. Normally they're not that tedious, but this year it made all the sense in the world for them to be doing what they had to do. You know what I mean? So that's good money. Now, speaking of catching up on things, like you, I was watching a lot of stuff. I'm gonna watch some more stuff tonight. Monday is my watch night, right? So what I did, what I'm in the middle of watching and just finishing up is the Oprah interview with Meghan and
Okay.
Harry, royal family that defected from the royal family.
Gotcha.
Um, and a lot of stuff came out in there. Everybody's talking about it because in there we find out that the royal family is hypocrites, bigots, borderline racists, and more importantly, being in there and a part of that, it's almost like a personal prison. So which spawned me to jump on this morning's, Motivation Monday moment and segment, and to talk about all of us because what nobody knew is Megan had suicidal thoughts. That's how bad it was. She felt so lonely and compressed in there and trapped that she had suicidal thoughts. And I say all that to say we all got to do our part. It don't have to be at the level of the king and queen of England or the president or the dictator of this or whatever. Just regular everyday people. I talk about this Motivation Monday thing and how people need to be motivated all the time. And it's a real thing. And all of us can reach in our mental Rolodex and think of one or two of 10 people who may need that phone call from us. I
Yes.
always say it's three types of people. It's people that's on the ledge right now. You know what I mean? It's people
Yeah.
that's maybe a paycheck or argument away from the ledge. And then there's people that think that they sitting pretty decent and getting by. Well, if you're one of the people that don't need a talking to, reach out, find somebody that do need a talking to, motivate them, get them going. If you are somebody that go through anxiety attacks or, your own issues, then it's up to you. It's the same thing. Reaching your Rolodex, your mental Rolodex. Who are you comfortable with talking to? Who's an inspiration to you that if they gave you words of advice or encouragement, you can snap out of that or be in a better place. You reach out as well. So that was what it was all about this morning. You know what I mean? Because I said a show a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I remember this family reaching out to me because of the impact I had on the brother. The brother had just passed away. And by the time I got finished talking to the sister for 45 minutes, I was flabbergasted. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And we take these things for granted sometimes.
We do. It's to the exact point that you're making, and I try to do my best, especially not only within my circle, but just in general. I always laugh because my mom has a way of calling me sometimes, and she'll go, "I'm calling you because I don't like your silence." She has to go, "I'm not worried about your noise." She goes, "I don't like your silence." And when she used to do it, it used to freak me out because I used to be like, "How does mom know this stuff is going on," or whatever the case may be? But that's your mother, and mothers usually have their intuition about their children, so forth and so on. But I say all that to say we have the same about our friends. You know who in your circle is borderline, whatever, and usually can use a once a week or every couple of days, pick up that phone or text message. "Hey, what's up? How you holding up? Everything okay over there? Y'all good?" And as I've said earlier, sometimes it's just a matter of listening. Every situation does not, require us to respond. Sometimes people just need to get things off their chest. People need to just vent because the circumstances and whatever they find themselves sitting in, they can't do it within that, arena. So they just need to get it off their chest sometimes. And to each and every one of us, we've been on both sides of that. You've been the person to vent, and you've been the person to listen to the vent. There's nothing wrong with being on either side of that. It's just a part of life. But the more we understand that, the more we're empathetic to it, the more we're sympathetic to it, the more we'll be able to hopefully ease the pain of the people in and around us whom we love and we care about. Because at the end of the day, there is nothing seemingly worse than when you find out an end result was because somebody didn't take a moment just to listen. And by that, I simply mean you get that phone call that says this person took their life or whatever just because they felt nobody cared. They felt nobody was, trying to hear them or saw them. That's something else that, I always encourage us to do too. We got to start telling each other, "I see you," or I understand," or whatever, and mean it, not just, lip service, because there are a lot of people who are walking what seemingly is in the shadows because they don't feel as though people are paying attention to them. And they're looking for that whatever to say that, okay, somebody sees me, somebody, at least acknowledges me. Acknowledgement is key.
We got to let each other know that we see each other. I mean, that's obvious. You know what I mean? And we're going to definitely come back to this. One of our first guests is in the building, so I want to get to him. We to go back to what we started off talking about, the kind of weekend it was, All-Star Weekend. Well, this guy, not only he's the CEO and creator of Humor Mill magazine, TV, podcast, all types of shows, but more importantly, he's my co-host and runs the show every day, 1 p.m. on the Humor Mill app and on your cable network. Frank Holder's with us in the living room. Bring in my man, Frank Holder, in the building.
Frank,
how you doing, bro? How you doing?
Great. How's everything? Frank, good to see you, sir.
I see you again. I see you.
Frank, first of all, Frank, let's start with what we were talking about earlier, because Amir brought it up off the gate, was like, hey, man, I did what they did with the All-Star, given all the circumstances and the time we live in and the climate. How'd you feel about the All-Star presence overall, Frank?
Overall, it was phenomenal. I mean, listen, I think it was one of the best years that I've ever seen. On a look way where you could see what it looked like, visually. You know what I mean? Like you can't imagine if the fans had been there too. I was like, this thing looks really, really, really well. I was just kind of saddened that fans weren't there the way we had expected them to look like, but it looked overall, bro, it looked amazing. I mean, I can't front about that part. I said it to you earlier today. It looked really, really amazing. I absolutely loved it. I love the way it looked. Let's say that.
It looked crazy. It looked so crazy at one time. I think it was a timeout, and the camera hit Donovan Mitchell, and I swear to God, I was watching a video game. It looked like
yeah, it did.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I know the same thing. I thought the same thing. It looked bomb. I mean, I don't know how everybody else took it, but it looked bomb. It was one of the first All-Star games I've ever actually wished that I wasn't already there physically. It was one of the first All-Star games that I wished I was there when I wasn't there physically. You know what I mean? I was like, oh wow, this would have been bomb. The way the aesthetic.
So Amir, best part about the All-Star experience and your least favorite, most favorite, least favorite.
Best part about the All-Star experience to me was the actual game itself. I know there were some people who felt as though, it was a lopsided situation and, too much of this and too much of that. But I thought it was actually good because I thought one of the things we got a chance to see was three of the greatest shooters in the game at this particular time showcase how great of shooters they are. That's Kyrie, Dame Lillard and Steph. You couldn't ask for more. These dudes were knocking down shots from half court like we make layups. I was looking like, goodness gracious, their range is retarded. So that was absolutely incredible.
I think the range is the worst because if you look at it when the camera hits that upper view of the whole court, they're not even using the whole court. They're using from here to here. It's like half the court. These two pieces make up half the court. They're not being used damn near at all 9 out of 10 times. Frank, what you think? Your best part, worst part?
My best part was the aesthetics of it. The worst part is I still can't get used to not having the East versus West, bro. I'm old school. I'm old school. Now, like I told you before last week, Talent. I mean, I didn't like it all. I was watching the game. I kind of enjoyed the game, but if I had to pick and choose, man, I like East versus West, man. I can't even front. I'm old school. I hate to be showing my age right now, but
I'm not mad at that.
It was hard for me to get used to. Okay, well, they won a quarter, and then they won another quarter. I didn't like that at all.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
I could have got with playing 4 quarters and then end of the 4th quarters. Then if they left it the way, I could have got with that part. But each one winning the quarter, I was like, yeah. And then it gives whoever wins the pot, whoever wins the whole pot, they win for whatever their nonprofit is. That's why I would have done it. I mean, I just didn't like that.
I thought that was a little, hanky too, but the other side of it is I think what they were hoping to do was to turn on that sense of battling one another. So you look up, we down 7 or whatever. Like I said, you got shooters on your team too. What we gonna do? Because if you looked at the end of the game, if you remember, the Durant's team just started, pulling as much as they could, trying to play catch up. Obviously, they were too far behind. And you still had 3 assassins on the, on LeBron's side. But I thought that was messed up. The thing that I thought was interesting was the dunk contest. I thought, like I said, was pretty decent. The only thing that I hate about the dunk contest, this goes for all dunk contests, because you asked the thing that I don't like. I hate when guys miss a dunk that looks like it would have been incredible. Like, I hate that because then it's like, it's not going to have the same, if they try a couple of times and then finally do it, you're like, you got it. But if you had done it that first time, I would have been over the top.
Yeah, but Amir, the trashiest part of the whole thing I didn't like or All-Star game was, okay, best person who gets to 170. Why don't you just have the game, like, you know what I mean? Like, why don't you just have everybody on the court? Let's go to 21. Like, if you're going to make it street, then make it street. If you're going to make it official, make it official. Why have 3 quarters with time and then the last quarter, first person who gets to 170 win? Like, that's mixing up street with official. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, hey, but you know what? I'm not the NBA commissioner. I'm just sitting there watching the game like y'all. And I talk about it during.
I think they did the best they could.
Right.
I think they had more hits than misses. So we'll grade them with a B+ to an A for this year, especially given COVID and pandemic season and stuff like that. But now the real issue, the real meat I want to get to, which came out this weekend, also All-Star movie weekend. We got to see Eddie Murphy come back on the big screen with a lot of people, a lot of appearances and cameos and funky stuff in this movie, Coming to America Part 2. Now, I'm going to open up by saying this. I'm glad that I was busy Thursday, Friday, Saturday, where I didn't have a chance to scroll and read a lot of what people's chatting about, right? Because it probably would have altered my thinking or the way I approached watching it or whatever. So I was oblivious to what was going on in the world. I just knew that it was out and I was ready to watch it, right? I loved it. I was smart enough to not go into a sequel trying to compare it to something that was done 30 years ago. You got to be the dumbest person in the world to do that, right? So I go into it on its own merit. I loved it, loved it. I actually know that I'm going to see it 2-3 more times. I already know that because there was so much going on. And I thought they got super creative with the flashbacks to the old one to reiterate what story they were trying to tell and make you remember little intricate pieces to help that story along. I give it 2 thumbs up. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's right there in that 8.5 range to me because I really can't find a lot that was wrong with it. But when I go to other people, for whatever reason, and there's been different reasons, people don't like it. It was whack. It was trashy. It was corny. It was this. It was that. Frank, coming to you since you're a guest in the room, first and foremost, what do you think?
All right. First and foremost, I think everybody who wants to compare it to the second one, I agree with that part, what you said, because the simple fact being, you saw Coming to America, the original, 1,000 times. So when you see this original, this sequel, you're already setting it up to not like it because you saw the first one 1,000 times. You can't compare a film that you saw once to a film you saw 1,000 times. So that's off the rip. That's number one. Number two, I like the way they kept the sequel going continuously. The directing was amazing. The costumes was amazing. The storyline was okay. I mean, it was okay. It was better than what I thought it was going to be. Honestly, I ain't going to front. I went into it thinking it was going to be trash. I'm that dude. I was like, yeah, it's going to be trash. I was blown away. And to me, I think Coming to America found some stars. You know what I mean? Like they really found some stars. It anointed Leslie Jones into being the star that we thought she was going to be in Ghostbusters. You know what I mean? It anointed like that. Now Leslie will be able to walk around and people will be reading her lines back to her. So you know you're in a good movie when people know your lines. You know what I mean? When they're going to be quoting your lines. She did that. You know what I mean? Jermaine Fowler. Look, I didn't know too much about the dude, but I can't front. I liked his performance. Wesley killed it. I mean, a lot of these guys, a lot of them, they did way better than I thought they were going to do. Maybe because I thought the movie was going to suck. That's just.
What do you think, Amir?
Well, you know what? It's funny. I was similar to Frank in the ideology that I thought it was going to suck, but I was pleasantly surprised at how good it was on just so many levels. As Frank just stated, the costuming was incredible. The musical selection was off the chain. I was in here, thought I was in like a little mini concert. I'm in here singing along. Wait a minute, what else we got on deck? So I thought that was incredible. The cast I thought was spot on as usual. I even thought that like you said, the flashbacks were just enough because for the new generation who obviously didn't have the opportunity to see the original, and obviously you can see it at any given time. They can't really think back to what 88 was like and what the world was like in that moment. So all these young people are only going to be able to definitively, hopefully relate to where the world is now. And there's nothing wrong with that. Thankfully, we're old enough to have the best of both worlds. So I enjoyed it. Like I said, I had a good time with it. I thought that everybody, like I said, did an absolutely amazing job. And I'm like you, Tyler. I'm going to watch it a couple of more times because I know it's stuff that I missed.
If you laugh, here's the thing. It's like a comedy show, bro. When a line makes you laugh real hard, you laugh so hard, you might miss the tagline on the end of it that makes it even funnier. But because you were laughing in here, so I know it's a bunch of that stuff in there. I want to bring in from the box seats as well. Comedian Fig is in the building. Let's bring him into this conversation. Bring him up. What up, Fig?
What up? What up?
What's good, family? You hear us talking. Did you see the movie?
Yeah, man, I saw it, man. I absolutely loved it, man. Talent, you're gonna have to answer that phone call to Leslie next time she calls you.
You know what's funny, Vic? I told that story last night in the airport.
Did you?
To this girl. Yeah, I'm talking to a young lady, and we were talking about the movie and all that. And she had told me a story about I think it was TK. So I told her, you want to hear Leslie Jones' story? She was like, yeah. When I told her story, her mouth was on the floor. Frank, you never heard the story.
No,
so you're going to love this story. True story. Fuck Les. I don't give a fuck where Leslie see it at. Is the truth. So, you know, Les wants some of this dick. Let's keep it real. Les wants this dick. Right? So we go so far back. The friend in me, I'm not trying to give him the thing. I'm like, we just friends. So this TV producer this is like when she was on Saturday Night Live, and this dude was looking for Keenan to play in this show that he was going to pitch, and he wanted to connect. And I had just me and Ed Lover had just did the guy's show, Comeback King. So he was like, can you get connected? And, you know, I know comics. I was like, you know what? Give me a minute. Let me try it. Because I know people who know people. So I called Dean Edwards. I'm trying everything but to call Leslie, right? I called Dean Edwards. I'm like, Dean, you was on Saturday Night Live. Can you connect me with Keenan? He was like, Keenan was coming in when I was going out. So, you know, he was like, I don't really know. You should call Big Les. I'm like, I'm trying not to call Big Les. So I said, yeah, you're right. Time is of essence. Let me just go about this business. So I hit her up in a text, and I'm like, yo, Les, it's Talent. Listen, I need you to hook me or give my contact to Keenan. I got a TV producer, want to, you know, make him cast him in the show, whatever. So it was like a day or two, no answer. So I forgot all about it for a minute. And then she hits me back, Frank, funniest shit in the world. She said, you niggas kill me. And the next line is, y'all be out here in these streets fucking all these regular insignificant bitches, but won't fuck a bitch that can help put you on. Yo, she said, I'm gonna give you this number, but don't call me no Paul McGee.
Yeah, that is classic.
Yo, son, you talk about the reverse casting couch.
Yo, G, that ain't a couch, that's a love seat. Sit on down.
Hey, I feel sorry for you next time you have to call her because you know what you got to do.
But I think she regretted though, because right after that, see what people don't realize, Frank, and I was just telling this young lady, I was like, I've already been there. I've been a star already. So everything you're now doing, I kind of did 10 times, right? Mm-hmm. So I know she felt like she could say that and never have to see me again. So she gets to the Knick game, and you know, I get owner suites. So I'm everywhere everybody gonna be. So I'm in the fucking owner suite. She comes in, and everybody's like, "Oh, Big Leg's here for Saturday Night Live. Hey, how you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. Sits her at the table next to me and my girl at the time, right? So we just sitting there, and my girl knows the story, so she's like, "Oh shit, oh shit." I said, "You don't worry about that." I said, "She don't have the ball. She's not gonna say shit because she's gonna be embarrassed that since she just don't know how to do it. I'm not gonna say shit. She's not gonna say shit." So the funny shit was, all of these big white executives, Dolan, Mills was there, the president at the time. All these executives, white, right? So because she's a comic and I'm a comic, she couldn't go nowhere in this suite without them keep trying to bring us together. He was like, "Oh my God, Dougie Fresh and Fat Joe, I want to get a picture." And it was like, they are like this. And the VP goes, "Hey, T, come over. Hey, Les, you know Talent, right?" That shit happened 5 times before we even got to go sit down at the game. Everywhere she goes, she see Curtis Blow. "Oh my God, Curtis Blow." Curtis like, "Hey, what's up? You know Talent, right?" Like, it was the weirdest shit. And I know she can't escape it. Like, do the right thing. Give me your review of the movie, man.
Yo, man, I thought it was like, yeah, man, I dug everything about it. I like the way they was going back and forth, you know, between what happened in the first one, what happened in this one. I literally laughed out loud maybe about 3 or 4 times. I don't remember the parts and stuff like that, but there was stuff that caught me off guard that made me laugh. I really dug the barbershop scene, man. It just like, it was nostalgic for me, man, because, you know, it was such a classic movie, you know, and it was just dope. I love what Wesley brought to the screen. He was really good. He stole a couple of scenes. Wesley did his thing, man. It was just, yo, man, it was just so exciting. I gotta see it again. That's for damn sure. I gotta watch it again. I watched it with the wife. We both watched it. We were laughing. I definitely got to see it again, man.
I think Wesley stole the movie.
He really did. He had
When you
some of
look
the.
at comedies and somebody every time, this is how you dictate who steals a movie in a comedy. When every time they come on the screen, if it's impactful and that moment just gets blown away, that guy stole the movie. Because every time he came on there, it was this funny ass character of he was Idi Amin, but he was goofy Idi Amin. It was like a goofy.
But Leslie's scene in the pool when the dude came up, dude, tell me you didn't roll at that scene. Like
That
I
was
was
funny.
dying.
But
funny.
the only thing about it though, it was a little. You could see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You could see it coming when dude ran from his scene, right? The young boy that played the lead, when he ran from what was about to happen to him and went to the mom, and she's in that instance, I could kind of see. I said, I bet you somebody. I thought it was maybe two guys under the water. Or
I
something.
did too. I 2 or 3.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like 2 or 3. Like when Eddie was in the top, I thought they were gonna come up or whatever. So I kind of seen it coming. But the thing about Wesley shit is, first of all, the stupid ass fucking walk and dance walk thing he do every time have you cracking up. So you don't know what part of the scene they kept you anticipated of when Wesley's actually gonna flip out, right? But he never flips out. It's just all this innuendo shit. But every time he that came on that scene, it was just a blowaway. This is what I give Eddie Murphy super credit for. And anybody who's ever interviewed me know this is how I feel about Eddie Murphy. As time went on, his stand-up to me didn't stand all the test of time that I think he is as great as I thought he was, right? I still think he's good, but I don't think he was as great as he was back then when I look at it standing the test of time. However, you can never take an ounce of anything away from him when it comes to this movie making. It takes a special brain to stay in touch with all the shit that resonates with your audience.
Yeah.
He brought back, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
From from Sex with Chocolate, from the barbershop, from all those characters that we've come to laugh and love with, they figured out a way to thread that shit in.
Yo, you know, now here's the thing. You know what I'm pissed off about? When we gonna get a McDowell's in the hood, son? How you get a McDowell's all the way in Africa and we can't get one? Like, what's up with that, son?
And you know,
why we
can't
get
you said about Wesley? What you said about Wesley was dope too, because all his scenes he said in several interviews, and one that was sent to me too, he said that he didn't choreograph none of that. That was straight off the dome. So that's what even makes it even more amazing. So I was like, wow.
Amir, what was you gonna say, Amir?
I said what I was going to say, which I thought was amazing too, was the bringing back of the twins. Yo, when I tell you, I couldn't stop the twins. Yo,
little shit, yo, little shit. Like, and then here's two more things that made it dope to me. That CGI shit that they had to use. When it was a time when they went back to a real back scene, but they had to put now into the back scene to catch it up. Yo, the work on that shit was crazy.
Yes.
Hey, yo, I do miss Sam, man. I do miss Sam.
Sam
Jackson.
Oh yeah. But come on, can we get Sam to play a crackhead again? I don't think so.
You know,
that was Sam, the hungry actor. I barely got a pot to piss in. So it's easy you're closer to playing a crackhead or a homeless dude. Sam gonna come in there and kill all them snakes on that motherfucking plane. So let me ask you guys this. So here's the thing. It's 4 of us on there. And the general consensus is we had a good time. We liked it. We'll see it again and things like that. So now I want to shift it to the question of why was this, I don't know if I could call it a campaign. Why was this movement on social media trying to make it go the other way? Why was it, oh, it was whack. Oh, it was garbage. You know, and even taking time to trash some of the actors and comedians.
I personally, I think what that was about is, to something that you started this whole thing with, which was so many people expected to have this movie be exactly like the original. And the problem with anything along those lines, first and foremost, let's get this out the way. It's always pretty hard to make a sequel to anything that's great. That's first and foremost. So we got to get that out the way. for the few movies that have had sequels that we've been able to honestly check over and over again, whether you're talking about the Fast and Furious franchise to all of the Rockies, that hasn't been an easy thing to do, even to Bad Boys. If we just jump for a second to the latest Bad Boys that came out, I had the same thing about the latest Bad Boys that was coming out. I was like, I don't know if it's gonna be that. Bad Boys was off the chain. I was like, this was really damn good. Kudos to everybody. But to that point, I think a lot of people's issue was they wanted to encapsulate what they saw in 1988 and bring it to 2021 and act as though this movie was supposed to be exactly like that one was, all of the bells and whistles and everything. And I think for anybody who looked at the movie through that lens or through those lenses, you were cheating yourself. And that's unfortunate. You know what I mean?
You know what, man? To me, it was like, yo, T, you know how we do when we got a lot of comedians on the show and we trying to give everybody a little something. You know, you can't give everybody a half hour, but you're trying to give everybody a little something. And we do what's called fast break comedy, where you give everybody a hot five and let them blow up the stage. I think that's what this movie was like, man, because everybody shined. You know what I mean? The new character playing the son, you know, Eddie and Arsenio was Eddie and Arsenio. Lisa McDowell, she was still she was still beautiful as ever. You know what I mean? I dug the scene between her and Eddie when he said he had slept with somebody else, and she was like, you ain't my first either. He kind of looked at it like, what you talking about? What you mean? I mean, everybody, Leslie, everybody had a little piece of shine. And it like Wesley Snipes, we talked about Wesley, everybody was hitting, but they didn't have like real long parts. Everybody had like a little piece, and it was all put together nice, you know, seamlessly. But like I said, it was all like 5 minutes. It seemed like 5 minute spots of like hot comedy, and everybody had a dope set. And it's like you wanted to see more of each character.
But that's funny because you use the example when we do the fast break comedy or like a comedy show where you give a bunch of guest spots, 5 minutes here and there, and you still can't fit everybody on stage.
Right.
So this makes me believe that the hate probably came from the comedy community.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this hate, because let's say you look at Eddie Murphy, it's a newcomer to America, and it's a good 7 or 8 comedians I'm gonna put in here. It got to be another 7 or 8 comedians that think they should have been in it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Or thought they could have did a better
What do you think,
job.
Frank? Frank, what do you think?
This is what I think. I think we're in 2021, and I think that the biggest audience right now is still used to watching things on a higher, faster level, faster pace. Meanwhile, the film stayed in pace of what it already was with the original. You know what I mean? It wasn't that many bells and whistles like people who watch this type of stuff expect. So at the end of the day, people who might have seen Coming to America 15 and 20 years later, they didn't understand the time that we were in. And the time we're in now, you know, it's not the same as it was in 1986, 87. So those people who watched that had higher expectations. All of us who enjoyed it, we expected what we saw, because at the end of the day, it stayed in line with what the film was. It stayed in line also what the story was. You know what I mean? It's really hard when you're in 2021 trying to make a black film, when black films now have their gangster films. There are all kinds of films. They're slave films. They're all kinds. Very rarely.
But you gotta explain to me. You gotta explain to me, because you use the phrase bells and whistles. This shit had a lot of bells and whistles.
No, I'm not saying the bells and whistles of the what we saw aesthetically. I'm talking about the bells and whistles of what the kids are used to with the bombs and the explosions and all that. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. Again, the audience now who's watching Coming to America that is streaming it, the majority of them who did not like the film are used to seeing films made like that. A lot of people our age group or older who saw the film, we're not used to streaming stuff like that. We're not used to this type of stuff. We're used to dropping in a VHS cassette, a DVD, and watching, and we're used to that. So the majority
of you're saying, to make sure I got this right, you're saying you believe that all the negative reviews and criticism came from just the younger audience.
It definitely came from the younger. I'm telling you now, because you know I'm a publication. I got most of my emails and stuff that I sent out came from the majority of older people. The majority of people our age group are older who saw the film originally when it first came out. They loved it. There's very handful of people who didn't. But a large portion of people who hated the film and are destroying the film, they don't even understand the concept or the nostalgia part because they didn't get it because they didn't live through it at the time. You know what I mean? It's just, again, it's a timing thing. It's an age thing. And we're seeing more of those negative responses because there are more people of their age group on social media. So we're seeing it filling up more of the time. You know, that's just, again, that's the way it is. Like, it hit all of us different points. It's like when Mia said when the two twins came out, that went over so many people's heads right now. But we caught, because at the end of the day, we remember from seeing the original, how we felt, the rap at the time. I mean, a whole lot of things. You know, listen, I go on and on and on about it, but that's just the way I felt. You know,
I mean, but that's what we're talking about. That's why we want to bring it up. Because here's the thing: I haven't had one conversation with a youngster yet. You know, I just watched it Saturday afternoon, and the only people that I talked to since I've watched it is the older people of my generation that know that could put the two together. And I believe, like Amir, I think a lot of those people who had negative views are comparing it to original, for one. And I don't know if they expect it, because you got to realize some of these films, and this is the genes again, you got to attribute to Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy can make a top comedy and not be the funniest person in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very seldomly you can say about people. As big as he is, and as funny as he is, and our Mount Rushmore of comics for most people, he can still be in the biggest top comedy of the year and give all the humor to everybody but himself. Because you see, Hakeem plays like the straight role. He's the straight, dumbfounded, half-assed, don't know what's going on, and then all this comedy's happening around him. I think that a lot of this is a mixed review thing. I don't think it's just the young people, because here's the thing: if we would be out of business if these 50-year-old motherfuckers wasn't on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that.
Yeah,
that's where all the reviews are.
But I said majority, like don't misquote. I said the majority of people. Like I'm saying, the majority of younger people, but the majority of our older people, the majority of them liked it. But now, when I posted 2 or 3 of these stories on the weekend, my email, and I went through, I asked people age. I was very interactive. The majority of people who were younger did not like it. Nostalgia fact for us. Again, I sat there and I kept hitting. Oh, I remember that. Oh, and I kept enjoying it because of those. But all the kids didn't get it. It went past them. So go ahead.
Yeah. I got a question for you guys, because this was something that came up in my conversations. Do any of you have anybody in your circles that absolutely, first of all, didn't even like the first one? Because I ran into 2 people who didn't even like the first one. I swear to God, it was the craziest thing. I swear on everything that I swear, 2 people I know, they was like, I didn't think the first one was a classic, and I was like this.
That's funny.
Where do they make you at? Like, what brand of? I don't even know what to say on that. I was like, that nobody I know has never said that this wasn't a classic. Nah, it wasn't. I was like, wow.
But here's the funny thing. What Frank said that's interesting is when we go back to Bells and Whistles, right? I do know a few people who movies that we call classic, because nothing's blowing up, because there's no crack cocaine, because there's no guns. People will deem a lot of classic. I could bring up classic after classic, and most of my black friends be like, "What?" When I say shit like Legends of the Fall, you get this shit from the average black dude in the hood. Yeah. Fuck you going watching Legends of the Fall? It was good. It's like Frank said the other day. Remember Frank? Frank was like, "Talent seen something about Mary."
Yeah, that's a classic. That's a classic. I love that.
That's
movie.
a classic.
That's a classic.
Yo, you know what's funny?
What?
But you know the generation that we talking about, like you have, like what Amir said, like some people say, yeah, man, I didn't like coming to America because I didn't like their accents or whatever and stuff like that. But you take a movie like Belly, and it be, oh, that was Belly was dope. I mean, I love Belly was like, dude, I couldn't watch Belly because of the lighting.
Right.
I couldn't see nobody. I don't know whether it was good or not. To me, Belly could have been on radio because I didn't see nobody in the whole damn picture.
Yo, that's funny as
Well, that's true.
No, I agree with you.
Well, hold on. Here's some funny shit. Because that's very true. Our people, we are film challenged sometimes. Like, depending on our experiences, how many times have you seen this? Like somebody that's never been to a decent restaurant, right? And they get in there and they're going right. They don't see it on the thing. You got cheeseburger deluxe, cheeseburger deluxe. I'm like, nigga, you ain't
Yeah,
where TV, nigga. Order some shit that you never seen in your life because you never been, but they never been nowhere. So they go to what the old faithful they trust. I need cheeseburger deluxe.
Yo,
You know,
Talent,
like
do you know what's crazy about what you said? I'm not going to name no names, but I went to Chicago to do a show with a comedian. We happened to go to Mike. This is when Michael Jordan had his restaurant in Chicago.
right.
We got there. What do you think that person asked for?
Fucking cheeseburger deluxe.
A cheeseburger deluxe in Michael Jordan's restaurant. Like, dude, this is MJ's. This is the goal. Order a steak. Order anything. But don't order a cheese. We could have went to McDonald's and got
I almost got in a fight with, AD, my friend AD.
Yeah, I know
almost
AD.
got in a fight with AD at this. We were somewhere like up by you, Frank. I think Providence or something. Very nice, exquisite. And somebody took us there, and I'm gonna take you guys to the finest thing. Whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try some different shit. You know what I'm saying? Some seafood. So I'm asking questions. Oh, what is this? Oh, mushroom. Okay. Oh, I'm allergic to that. Okay, boom. And I give me a nice deal. And the waiter, excellent choice, sir. You? That nigga said, he had this big ass meat thing. Fuck this shit, man. Y'all niggas got no cheeseburger deluxe? Yo, I said, I'm about to fight this motherfucker, right? And the dude said, no, it's cool. And the guy said, I mean, we can make one for you. That's what's up. And sat back like, that's what, like he did some shit. But here's my thing. If all the people tuning in, first of all, they say hello to Fig and Frank. We got a lot of our regulars from box seats. I want to catch everybody up. If you're wondering why we're sitting here critiquing the movie on Motivation Monday, because I found the movie not only to be good, I found it super motivating to watch a comrade of comedy put a lot of peers on.
Yes.
And that was motivating enough for me to say, this is a topic for today. Not just all comics.
No.
You got Tiffany Taylor in there. You got Wesley, actors like Morgan Freeman, Wesley. You had Gladys Knight in this bitch, son.
Yes!
Exactly.
Icons.
Salt and pepper. Yeah.
I mean, salt and pepper ain't the old salt and pepper, Lord. It's more like oregano and paprika, but
it's more like Lowry's.
No, but I think that's very motivating, Frank. What do you think?
No, I'm just saying, y'all are making my point. You see how excited y'all got by just looking at all the people? Like, y'all are making my point. But
let's be serious. Let's be real. And to attribute to your point even further, that younger generation, not only have they probably been looking for the bells and whistles, but I don't think they get the historical value of.
Exactly.
We spend all of this time saying, like, yo, when I get here, I'm putting people on. Yo, when I get here, I'm putting people on. For that alone, how do you watch something like that in your face with all of these things? Can you imagine? Let's just go back to some of those names. Can you imagine some of those names getting that phone call? Like, we want you to come down here. We're working on Coming to America too. Like, if I'm Salt and Pepper, I'm like, well, fuck, I'm doing that. If I'm Gladys, like, what? Like, until you hear the idea, you're like, oh.
Okay. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but let me just say this too. Let's remember the time when Coming to America, the original, came out. It was 1986, 87. How many black movies did we get out a year at that time? One. You know what I mean? I think the damn broke when what's the original? What was that Wesley Snipes movie? Deep. The one where he was the gangster. I think the damn broke.
New Jack City.
New Jack City. We had never seen until when Coming to America came out, we had never seen so many black actors in a film at that particular moment in time, all together. Usually we would see one black film with a couple, maybe two. If we saw three, we were like, wow, you saw this such and such in the movie. You know what I mean? But then when Harlem Nights came out and then Deep Cover came out, New Jack City came out, we were like, whoa. Look at all of this. It's what I'm saying. That's my point. I'm trying to think. Is like,
but you know what the proof in the pudding is, Frank? And a lot of people still don't know this fact, and I think it's a film fun fact. The same weekend New Jack City came out, Robert Townsend 5 Heartbeats came out.
Sure did.
And and nobody went to see it.
Sure did.
Everybody flooded to see
New Jack City.
Yeah.
Five Heartbeats gained word of mouth. So when this was the blockbuster in the movie theater, the next 4 to 8 weeks, because back then you could be in the movies 8 weeks, the next 4 to 8 weeks was a steamroller word of mouth, and then Five Heartbeats would eventually become a classic as well. But
Right.
when they came out the same weekend, to Frank's point, all of us youngsters and about the rah-rah and bells and whistles ran to see New Jack City.
Yeah, we
But
did.
you know what?
Too.
Go
Oh, I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Frank.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I was
Vic.
thinking that was by design, because you know what they do to decrease our numbers sometimes, they'll pit us against each other, you know what I mean? So both of them could do low numbers.
You're right.
But at the same time, there's enough of us that we could go see a movie in 2 movies 1 weekend to make money. There's enough of us to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, you're right. They do that. But again, in 1986, 87, there weren't a lot of movies of us coming out. There wasn't. You know, when Blade came out, that was the big thing. Remember that? When New Jack City came out, that was the big thing. But then when Harlem Nights came out, this is all Eddie too. When Harlem Nights came out, and then of course when Coming to America came out, it started to set and move a trend where we saw all these comics. There had never been a movie before that where we saw all these comics in one film. You can't name one movie. So that's what I'm only bringing it up to say, historical for what Eddie did then, and historical for what Eddie and his team, his production team, is doing now with all the comics and actors and 600 people employed that they employed and brought down to Atlanta to help create all these jobs to help get Coming to America, which they were expecting to be in the theaters, but now came in. I just got a press release literally just not even an hour ago saying they had over 80 million streams this weekend. 80 million.
Yo, man, and let me tell you this. Shot at Rick Ross' house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Let me be clear. Let me be clear, because I was watching it with somebody that was a little unclear. The interior, because I watched it right with this girl. I don't know if y'all remember the scene, the aerial view of like the castle.
Yes.
So this girl, the girl watched it and said, "Yo, that's Rick Ross." I said,
Yeah.
"Interior, yo, like the interior." So, no, but Frank, you hit the nail on the head, hit the home run, right? Grand slam on that. You're right. But I always say this to people who are moviegoers and avid movie fans and critics like myself, who just I call us movie buffs. We did the damn thing. We supported. To me, even though it's COVID season, it worked out bigger and better for Eddie and his team and the powers that be in producing this production, because streaming is the future. We know that because we're sitting in the battle of it right now. And this, we needed this. People trash it, say what you want. Your friend didn't get in it. You didn't laugh at this, whatever case may be. Eddie just did what he did 30 years ago. The same way you said he paved the way for those movies, he just paved the way for Disney and Amazon and all of them to trust us to be in those blockbuster movies again, streaming wise.
Yeah, right. He sure did. And kudos to James Earl Jones too, man. Let's do a shout out to James Earl Jones, because he couldn't even get out of his bed to film, and he was in the bed in New York. They shot his whole scene in New York, and a lot of people don't even know that too. So
wow, did not know that. Nice piece of.
Well, I was going to shout him out for different reasons. I was going to say he's the most gangster dude I know. Any dude that said, "I want my funeral now."
Yeah, give me the flowers now. I said,
the man said, I want my funeral to be the shit. And he was like, yeah, I got you. He's like, no, nigga, do that shit now.
Yo, that was a dope scene. That's why I liked it. But I like the way everybody came together to make this film. There's a lot of little bits and stories, and I'm in the news, so I know all the bits and stories of how they all put it together. But I think when people bent over backwards to make this film, like Kenya Barris, who people know, he wrote Grownish, he did all those other Ish, Blackish, like the things that he bent over backwards to help make that film. I talked to him last week. The things that they went through, that Paramount did not want them to do to get this film out, and how they were going to hold it for another year. The way that they did this, they don't even realize, well, they probably do this morning, that they, just like Talent said, they now made sure Black people now will accept streaming instead of going to the movie. To their approval or detriment, they're going to find out in a couple of weeks. But we all know a lot of Black folks watch Coming to America. They ain't even watch a movie streaming for the first time. They were going to go to the movies first.
Whoa. Can we get commercial here, Fred? Hold up. Black people were streaming before COVID, like while people was going to the movies, black people were streaming, and they wasn't even supposed to be streaming.
No,
Yeah.
no.
All right.
When I'm talking about to see a movie,
Stop
I'm
you playing the bootlegger.
talking
Wait a
about to
minute.
see a movie for the first time. You know what I mean?
Hey Frank,
I'm talking about.
don't fall into that shit. Don't fall into that shit.
Oh,
Black
yeah,
people
you're
were
right.
streaming. Black people were the original streaming was when Harriet Tubman had to walk them
Oh.
Negroes through that water to freedom. That's streaming.
Yo, I got breaking news for y'all. I got breaking box seat
Go ahead,
news. Dak Prescott just agreed to a deal with the Cowboys.
What?
He got the deal?
Yeah, looks like he got a deal with the Cowboys. You know we're gonna talk about that tomorrow on box
Hold on.
seats.
The day before the deadline.
Day before the deadline, they agreed to a deal. No terms yet. It looked like they agreed to a deal.
Okay.
Well, we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Tune in 1 o'clock. Is go. That's all right. That's good breaking news. I like that. 1 o'clock. Catch us digging deep with the details of this and many more sports stories with Rodney Perry, my man, comedian Fig, Frank Holder, and your boy Talent. We are the box seats. Thank you guys, man. I appreciate y'all, man.
Thank you.
Coming to America too. We like it. To everybody.
Yo, and shout out to Rodney Perry, who was actually in the movie.
In the movie. Yes.
Yeah,
Big shout out to Rodney.
Shout out to Rodney Perry, who was in the movie, and shout out to all the lines that he had that hit the cutting room floor that he said.
I know, right?
I know the feeling of that bullshit.
Oh, man.
Salute our good brother Rodney Perry. Thank y'all, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Fig. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Good to
All right,
see
man.
you.
Peace.
Salute, gentlemen. Yes.
Appreciate y'all. That's good dice right there, man. Amir,
It was.
yeah, I love it when the plan come together, brother. You know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, like I said, the movie, to your point about motivation, something else to take from this, like you said, from this segue and from this particular situation. Sometimes we get into the mind frame and mindset that sometimes working with your friends and, so forth and so on isn't such a great idea for various reasons. And obviously you never really know all of the little nuances of how things get to be made or, what steps are taken to put things or to get things together. But with that having been said, this should be another one of those projects that you look to, that when you start putting together whatever projects you have in mind, and it could be anything, look for within your circle to see who within your circle possibly has the fortitude, possibly has the skill sets and things you need for all of y'all to come together to make something great or to make something wonderful and to make something that lasts. That's really what this is all about. And it's not about that being, the statement of you, because sometimes even being behind the scenes and not being the person in front of the camera or whatever, but the person who maybe kept everybody calm or whatever the case may be, that's such an important part of the bigger picture. Nobody's ever going to write you. You probably won't get your name in the stat books and all that stuff. But the people who were part of it, they know what you did and you know what you did.
And that's what's important.
Yeah,
and
that's
what's important, man. So again, I want to thank Frank Holder and Fig making themselves available to talk about this because we don't get a couple of minutes at the 1 o'clock show. We got to handle our business before. So I knew that Frank did the premiere. I know that we all seen it, and it was important for us as grown men who lived through both to get on here and talk about the importance of it. I mean, yes, it was very entertaining. Yes, it was dope. It was nostalgic. We got to laugh and all that. But there's bigger implications and bigger avenues and doors being kicked in by this. You know what I mean? So the timing on this was immaculate. And kudos to everybody who made that film possible, especially Eddie Murphy at the top. I still say Wesley stole the damn movie, tickled me to death. And probably because we've seen Wesley more times serious than humorous. So for him to pull that off in impromptu fashion was amazing. Now, to go back to how we started off, I'd like to close out with how we came to be on the show about reaching down and grabbing our fellow brothers and sisters right now. If you have not had a chance, especially you and me, because I don't think you did yet, on Hulu, you can still watch the Oprah Winfrey CBS interview with Meghan and Harry, the royal family that pretty much left and went to start their own thing. And it's a very deep, thought-provoking exchange. It starts off with Oprah and Megan. And then later in the interview, Harry comes in. And you can tell there's some deep shit in there because one thing that's lingering in my head is when there's a talk about the baby and race and the color of the baby, right? What color it may or may not be. This is before the baby gets it. And something racial happened with Harry and his family in that conversation. So the fact that he said in an interview and said to Oprah, I'm not going to repeat that conversation, you know it's detrimental. The fact that you couldn't just go back, oh yeah, he said this, I said that. But he said, I'm not going to repeat it.
Yeah.
And she was like, so what was it like? What was it like? He said, I'm not going to repeat it. So the fact that it leaves it even innuendo-wise deeper and crazier than it is. The things that's going to stand out to you is, and which inspired me in the motivational moment this morning, is that she admits to being put to the brink of suicidal thoughts, not wanting to live. If I'm going to live, like if I didn't signed off on this, it's like a beautiful prison.
Yeah.
But a prison, nevertheless. Prison what people don't realize is even though you got a bunch of people locked up, there's an internal loneliness that I'm sure that lingers in each body and each soul in that prison. Even though there are around 1,000 more prisoners, these are just people from all walks of life in their own situations. When you put people like that together, people become in this introverted, lonely state. And imagine her, she's in this beautiful, plush, sky's the limit, things you can have and blah, 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 but it's still a prison. Because she was like, at one point in the interview, she said, it got to a point where I was gonna go to an event and they told me, nah, you everywhere, you too much out there. And she was like, I left this motherfucker 2 times in 6 months. I'm out there, I'm everywhere. The fuck? So
it's so crazy too, T, that you bring it up because it, piggybacks a bit off of what we had talked about on Friday, just in terms of this whole colorism, hierarchy, blah blah blah, stuff. But to your point, and it's interesting because in listening to you explain, her experience and some of her experience and what she was going through, it reminds me of Princess Diana, who was obviously years before her, and what we kind of experienced when she had that whole situation being part of the royal family and how that didn't, shake out the way that we thought it should. And it looked fishy just based off of a lot of things that we were all like, what's going on up in there? But I say all that to say, in all fairness, this is a wild moment because it almost segues into what we do on Fridays, which is our race debated things, because then you start thinking to yourself, what does it definitively mean to be in specific places? And if you're of a certain background and of a certain situation, how does that play out for you? Because to your point and what you said about being in a prison, to live in a palace, we're all assuming, for those of us who actually never even visited a palace, you think to yourself that, like you said, it'd be some amazing thing, like, oh my God, this is dope. And we got this, we got that. And to have rules and regulations and things that you now have to follow because, quote unquote, that has always been the oligarch, that has always been the way that things are carried out and the way that things are done and said. You now have to cater to that when that's not necessarily your spirit and not who you are as a person is a lot. So I'm looking forward to, like you said, definitely checking it out so I can see all the nuances.
It's definitely a must see. We got to check it out. And even when we talk about the other documentaries and things that you've seen, these things have a way of motivating as well. Like the Biggie documentary, I got a story to tell, was probably the most, because I remember Mr. C had said something like this, the best one or the closest one to reality, whatever. To me, anything Biggie, I'm watching, I'm gravitating towards it. It was the most motivating. And I say that because it spent so much angle of focus on the person, the boy and the man, than the music. It was more about the music, you can't get around it because that's what he ended up doing for a living. But the boy and the man got the emphasis all the way from the childhood trips to Jamaica to be with grandma and uncles. That's me and us going south to our roots, to North Carolina and South Carolina and Virginia during the summer. So the summers he would go to Jamaica and be with grandma and uncles and all
Grandpa,
that stuff.
cousins, yep.
So
Mhm.
in the essence of following the boy and the man, and then you watch the struggles, then you watch the climbing, then you watch the sacrifices, and then of course we know the end result. You got to be where you wanted to be. That's motivating in itself.
Yes. Yes.
You know what
I
I mean?
agree.
So
I
those
agree.
things have their place, man, with Motivation Mondays. So when we do this type of thing, I need the people who come in maybe late and like, why are they talking about that? Because we're trying to put a high beam or a flashlight on parts of things that you may not even be looking at like that way. Like you might just be looking at like, oh, it's just I'm just watching Coming to America to make me laugh. Yeah, but look at the impact behind it. Look at what's really going on. Read between the lines.
Take
You know what I
take
mean?
like,
Yeah.
take the fact that again you had all of these entertainers from different walks of entertainment, by the way, because as you said, the comedians is one thing, but Gladys Knight is Gladys Knight. She's one of our musical icons who you put up there in a whole different category than most, and that's no disrespect to our latest and greatest, but she helped pave the way for all of that. Then you take a group like Salt and Pepper, again, one of the very first female rap groups and rap groups, period, to personify a specific status. In Vogue was just In Vogue. Long before you heard about Destiny's Child and some of these other beautiful groups that we, came to be. In
They
Vogue
never
was,
look happy.
yeah, but they don't. But they can. But the one thing that you can always say about In Vogue is those beautiful ladies can sing. Like,
Oh no, we
every,
know they can sing, but it's almost like when you see a Vogue perform, it's almost like they owe somebody a performance. It's never like, hey, the Vogue's always
hold on
like
to
looking like wait,
your.
they're waiting for them to go and cut. Get the fuck out of here. I ain't got time. Like we used to always say that in comedy, right? Like when we go places, you can kind of see when somebody's somewhere they don't want to be, or the something about the deal ain't right, or it'd be little shit. A motherfucker find out this one's making $10 more than this one. It'd be anything, and then you'll just see the comment, yeah, yeah. And I'd be like, it's like somebody was talking about TK was at was it all? It was either Super Bowl or All Star Weekend, whatever it was. They had messed it up or something where nobody showed up. So it's this beautiful venue. He's performing, and literally it's like 12 people in the house, 15 with the staff or some shit. So they said the motherfucker whole time he's on stage, he's just dogging the production. Yeah, did y'all fucking promote this shit? And that's the whole shit. So everybody was hating, mad at the motherfucker, like didn't want to pay him. He got into a whole thing with money. My thing is this. What you do for a living should be motivation enough to do it. Nothing else should knock your motivation out. When I go to a thing from somebody and maybe they dropped the ball, maybe they didn't promote it good, maybe whatever case may be, you go there, it's a light turnout, whatever. What I'm not going to do, I'm going to do my best not to do nothing because I feel like, because those 10 people, still 10 paying customers, still 10 fans that loved you or liked you enough to come here to see you. So it's not up to you. It's a wrong thing to do is to bash the situation when they're still sitting there for a show.
Yeah.
I remember me and Cool Mike Ski got into it in New Haven, Connecticut years back because he did that. Like we went to a show and played small comedy club. Joker's Wild held about 140, 150. And he probably got about 35, 40 people out for the first show, right? And he goes up in the intro, the whole first 10, 12 minutes, but the way he's saying it, he's mad because it's not a big turnout. But the way he's saying it is almost like making people, because I'm in the audience, the bar, drinking, like, I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, if I'm in the audience, I feel like you're making it my fault. The 30 that did come. So when he got off, he told me, man, I said, don't ever fucking do that. Especially if I'm on the show in front of me. He said, what do you mean? I said, dude, you spent your 12 minutes making these people feel fucked up like they in the wrong place. They paid. They here.
They came. You
You're
got
worried about motherfuckers who ain't come. These motherfuckers paid $30, whatever their ticket was. They're here. They got their drinks, their food. They ready to laugh. And you're spending your time talking about motherfuckers that don't do that. You alienate them. First of all, it's wrong because you're giving them less of a performance you would have. if it was 100 people, right? Two, you spending time wasting on people who are not there, and then more importantly, you making the motherfuckers who are there feel like it's their fault, or I'm in the wrong place. Are you saying I shouldn't have bought my tickets either?
That's big. Like you said, that again, motivation comes in so many formats, so many different ways, and first and foremost, it first has to come from within. So you got to motivate yourself first and foremost, because
That's true.
you can't shed that light or shine that light or emanate that light so that other people can see it until you can see it within you. Because once you can see it within you, trust and believe, you'd be surprised at the other people who are being, catching, beams of it, or catching pieces and catching things bouncing off of walls just because. But the beauty of it is once you do, and once you turn that on, then everything else kind of falls into place. Trust and believe it. I've seen it too many times to not believe in it and to not understand it. And I think most of you have as well. You just get scared of it because when it happens and you realize now that the light is on and people are watching, then you kind of maybe shrink back into thinking to yourself, well, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But as I always tell everybody, your thoughts are, your first line of everything. And if you're thinking to yourself, I need bigger, I need better, then the universe is listening. So it's bringing it. Just be ready when it comes, because it's definitely coming. There's no two ways about that. You know
Absolutely.
what
I mean? And on that note, we're gonna get out of here and let people know, hey, like we always say, we love y'all. Ain't nothing y'all can do about that. I know we went over Prophet Pete. Excuse us, but it got nice and fun and passionate and all that good stuff. In closing, if you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it, be like us, see it again, because I'm gonna watch it at least 2 more times. So you know what I mean? Shout out, kudos to all of my comedians, all of my actor friends in there, all my artists in there, everybody who, like he said, it put 600 people to work. So coming to America, you heard it here. It's funny. It's good. It's definitely worth watching if you haven't already watched it. And if you have, a second and third time. This is your boy Talent. This is the King Amir. It's Motivation Monday. I guess we'll see you guys in mañana in the morning, tomorrow about 10:30 a.m. with Divided States. A lot to talk about. This COVID relief bill. I'm going to talk about next year.
Got some, got us on the fence with that one. Again, we look, y'all, we still got to keep our eye on the prize. Talent has been absolutely phenomenal, hands-on, telling us to keep our eyes on the prize. And, when you really think about it, we're going on almost a year now. We in March again. Y'all do the math. Almost a year of him saying, hey, guys, we got to keep our foot on the pedal. We got to keep
Thursday make a year.
See, look at that.
Thursday, I think Thursday makes the year because the president's going to speak Thursday live, marking 1 year of when they officially, recognize everything. So Thank you, Amir. Thank you, everybody. See y'all in the morning. God bless.
See y'all in the morning. God bless.